a lot has changed over the past 100 years in Kenya, on our roads, in the way we communicate, in our hospital operating theaters. But schools are still the same. We have a teacher, we have a blackboard, we have writing pads, we have textbooks, we have pencils and pens. But the most worrying thing is the statistics. In 2013, WESO had a study in all the schools in East Africa, and these were the results. The teacher-to-student ratio is 1:45. 10% of class 8 students cannot solve a class 2 math problem. And the other thing is 40% drop out after primary school. In 2003, President Kibaki made education free for all primary school kids, and which has been a really great thing for people who could not afford education. But every day we hear stories about schools do not have enough textbooks. We have a teacher is not able to interact with all the 40 students during the class. And we have people who dropped out of school. They don't really feel comfortable going back to a class of 40 students because they feel that they'll be laughed at, or the other kids will feel that they are stupid. And a lot needs to be done in terms of the whole education ecosystem, whether it's in form of infrastructure, whether it's in form of policy or research or content. And we all have to agree that we live in the 21st century, and we need to give our learners education that is helpful to them today, as well as skills that will enable them to be competitive all over the world. So I work for an education technology company called Ilimu, and Ilimu offers digital local content for primary school kids. So I'm going to give you stories of what I've seen on the ground over the last 2 years. So this is an animation of mathematics, and there's different students in class, and what it has done is that the slow kids can watch the video as many times as they want. The brighter kids can watch it once or twice, but more importantly, a child or a learner in Turkana can learn the same lesson the same way as a child in Nairobi, or a child in Meru, or a child in Samburu. The other thing is, we went to Samburu, and it's a small village called Kitalamani, next to Samburu National Park. And when we went there to the primary school, Kitalamani School, and one of my colleagues called Francesca was like, we should also have some apps for women so that they would be able to know how to recycle glasses or plastics in their home. And when we went to their workplace where they make the beads and the necklaces and the bangles and talked to them, they told us, you know what, we would also like to learn math and English and Swahili. And it was an interesting thing because at times we assume people, because they dropped out of school, it's because they don't want to learn. But at times it's because they don't have the opportunity, or most of them are married, they have kids, and they would really not fit into our school system, which is 8 to 4. But if you have a tablet that you can learn on your own time, then that is great. So we've seen that technology can bring opportunity to areas where we never thought, people would not really have that chance. That's a teacher from Embakasi Garrison Primary School. And when we went to train teachers, we had this in mind. We told them, this is how you teach in class. This is how you should integrate technology. Like, you should use the tablets in class as part of your lesson. And over the last years, we've seen teachers innovate and build up their own ways of teaching. And some teachers actually give children, tell them, go watch this video as homework. And when they come back the following day, then the teacher is able to engage with them, ask them questions, discuss with them, which means that, it has revolutionized the way that they teach in class. I went to Kisumu, and as you all know, the people from Kisumu are very confident, and, that's why it's Kisumu City. So when we went there, I met this girl, and she's very good in English, and she always has her compositions being put on the notice board in school. And she wanted to put her compositions out there for all the other learners in Kenya to be able to read it. So she asked me to help her put her compositions online. And what I saw is an opportunity that otherwise she wouldn't have got. Because most of the time when you go to look for a job as a journalist, you're asked how many years of experience do you have, or how much work have you done? And if she started a blog with her compositions when she's in class 7, by the time she's at Form 4, she has 6 years of experience writing, which is really, really, awesome. I mean, not most of us has that much experience in workplace. We do not create technology for the sake of technology. If you want to bring technology to people, it has to be relevant to them, and it has to offer solutions to them. And what we do is we help our learners get the concepts of what they're learning so that they'll be able to pass their KCPE. As we all know that KCPE is really, really important to the Kenyan learners and the parents and the teachers. And if you are able to give them concepts that help them improve their grades in class 8, then that's really good. But all this has not been without its challenges. We went and talked to so many teachers and so many parents, and what we got is everybody was really reserved about taking technology and letting their kids use technology, mostly because most of the kids use their parents' phone to play games, and the parents mostly use their phones to either SMS or call or M-Pesa at times. So every time we went and talked to teachers or parents, the question we got is, how do we make sure that these kids don't play games? How do we make sure they don't access explicit materials? How do we make sure that they do learn? How do we make sure that the data is properly used for learning instead of watching endless videos on YouTube? And what we did is we came up with a program called Digital Literacy. And what digital literacy is, every time we go to a school or every time we approach parents, we make sure we teach them what digital literacy is. How do you teach your children to communicate properly? How do you make sure you manage your data properly? How do you make sure that your settings are set properly so that kids cannot go outside of what they're required to do? After doing this for a long time, we've got parents to accept it, and that's why we've had all the stories that we've had before. And the other thing we had a problem with was, you have this amazing app, but most of the people we serve do not have enough resources to buy a low-cost tablet, which costs around 100 to 150 USD, which is around 10,000 shillings to 15,000 shillings. So what we did is we turned all the app into a website so that anybody with 5 MB of data, 10 MB of data, 20 MB of data, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's what you can afford, right? So at the end of the day, they'll be able to access the content and be able to learn at their own pace. I've learned how to listen, and you have to listen, to the teachers, you have to listen to the parents, you have to listen to the kids, because at the end of the day, these are the people who are involved in education. I believe education opens doors to many things, and lack of education at times makes people like prisoners on their own, because they can't apply to this other job because they don't have the qualification, or they are not able to ask proper questions because they don't have proper knowledge. And I think we've done a great job, and with free primary education, we'll continue to see many kids enrolling in school. We'll continue to see schools taking in more kids into their schools. We continue to see teachers taking in more kids into their classroom. And this is something that we cannot control. But what we can do is we can create quality education today for them. And I think you're on the right track by making education a basic human right for every child in Kenya and for everyone in Kenya. But what we should also do is we should make quality also a right. And I think one of the ways we can achieve this is through harnessing the power of technology in the classroom. So through my journey, I've discovered that technology can create equality. It can create many, many opportunities for our learner, but also it can revolutionize the way we teach and learn. Thank you.